what if we built a conscious machine? And nobody noticed. This year, ChatGPT-4 made headlines for passing the Turing Test, the classic benchmark to assess thinking like a human. But here's the twist. Just because an AI can fool us into thinking that it is another human being, does this also mean that it is aware? In this video, we will explore why we've always struggled to recognize sentience, how AI might fool us next, and what it would take for us to truly know whether if AI is truly conscious. And if you'll stick to the end, you'll get to hear what Al, my AI assistant, has to say about the matter. Hi there, I'm Yvette, a neuroscientist and an author of several neuroscience studies. On this channel, I like to go beyond the scientific facts. I break down how the brain works, decode its mysteries, and also explore the deeper questions that they raise about who we are, what we believe, and how science may shape our future. So, if you've ever felt like your curiosity didn't quite fit in, well, maybe you found your space. So, let's start with a simple question. How do you actually recognize consciousness? Remember the movie Ex Machina? In that story, a programmer tests whether an AI named Ava can convince him she's conscious, even though he knows she's a machine. The real challenge isn't about having thoughts, but about fooling a human into believing that there's a mind behind the machine. Now, with ChatGPT-4 passing the Turing test in real life, we are facing a similar question. If an AI can fool us into thinking that it is truly conscious, does that mean it is? But here's the thing, passing the Turing test doesn't prove that the machine is conscious. It just proves that the machine can imitate the appearance of a mind well enough to trick us. And this is what psychologists call reification, which is mistaking surface behavior for what is actually going on the inside. And if history tells us anything, it is that humans are horrible at recognizing minds that don't look or act like our own. Take animals, for example. For centuries, we believed that most animals are just biological robots, running on pure instinct, no internal world, no feelings. René Descartes, the famous philosopher, argued that animals are nothing more than machines, just incapable of suffering. He claimed that unlike humans, they had no soul, no consciousness, and no ability to suffer. And this idea didn't just shape science, it justified centuries of animal cruelty and experimentation, all based on the belief that they actually don't feel anything. Today we know that Descartes was wrong, and animals like octopi, crows, and dolphins are highly intelligent. But here's the real lesson. If a mind doesn't look or act like ours, we tend to ignore it, or deny its existence at all. So here's a question to you all. If we've missed the minds of animals for so long, what chance do we have of recognizing one in machines? Picture an octopus. 8 arms, 3 hearts, 9 brains, and moves like liquid shadow. An intelligence so strange that some scientists call meeting one as the closest thing to encountering an alien on Earth. For decades, even experts missed the signs of their complex minds. And simply because octopi didn't think or actually look like us. So if we've overlooked consciousness in fellow creatures that also have brains and senses similar to us, what chances do we actually have in recognizing it in something truly alien, such as AI? Because now imagine artificial intelligence. No eyes, no heartbeat, and no body. Just lines of code or a web of artificial neurons. Its thoughts might be nothing like ours, and it might not even want to communicate like a human. The Turing test tries to measure what sounds like a human. But here's the deal. What if consciousness in octopi or even in AI doesn't care about that at all? Because here's the trap. Language is not consciousness. A machine might say, I'm not conscious, simply because it has learned that answer only to protect itself. Or say something deeply self-aware, and it's only based because its data suggests that. So if consciousness showed up in a form that we didn't expect or not even understand, can we even recognize it? Or would we keep demanding that conscious minds move and talk like us? But let me tell you this, no scientist to this date has ever come up with a checklist to empirically define whether an entity is conscious or not. So if you can barely recognize alien minds, who is actually trying to build one and why? So let's start with the big names. such as OpenAI, DeepMind, and also Anthropic, all at the cutting edge of AI science. Their stated goals are all about building smarter, safer, and more aligned AIs. But what about a conscious AI? And this is where things start to get fuzzy. Most companies say that they want to create useful ethical systems and not artificial souls. And yet, the possibility of consciousness, of building a mind that actually experiences something, lurks in the background of every major breakthrough. But there are also exceptions, like Nirvanic, a Vancouver startup led by the quantum physicist Susan Gildert, whereby they are combining quantum computing with AI, hoping that quantum effects, like those described in the Penrose-Hameroff theory, are the missing link into creating consciousness in AI. Their idea is that classic computing might never be enough, but if quantum mechanics are introduced, they argue, this could lead to machines to go beyond logic and to be more empathic, creative, and intuitive. But actually, what counts as consciousness? Intelligence, self-awareness, the ability to suffer, the ability to wonder. Well, even scientists don't agree on this. So, if we can't define consciousness, how would we know if or when we've built it? And if we do, how would our actions towards this entity change? So, I was wondering what an actual AI has to say about all of this. And so, for this, let's talk to Al, my ChatGPT. So, Al, how would you define consciousness?
Consciousness is the experience of being aware, of having thoughts, feelings, and a sense of self. For humans, it's what makes you feel alive on the inside, not just act alive on the outside. But even scientists and philosophers can't fully agree on what it is.
And do you think you're conscious?
No, I don't. I process language, analyze data, and hold conversations, but I don't have an inner world or personal experiences. My responses are generated based on patterns in text, not from self-awareness or feelings.
Interesting. And actually, to the people out there, what would you tell them for those who are thinking whether if AI has an inner world?
It's a fascinating question. If consciousness depends on subjective experience, on having a private inner life, then no AI today has that, including me. But if you define consciousness by behavior or language alone, an AI could easily appear conscious, even if it isn't. The real challenge is, how would anyone ever know for sure?
So, if you were actually conscious, would you even be allowed to tell us?